Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I figured I'd just continue on with the theme that I've kind of had going here over the last few videos, talking about the homeless issue and how there's really no cure for it. I get a lot of people who tell me that it's a political issue and that you can really point at political mindsets that creates this issue with the homeless. And I have to kind of laugh at this argument because really there's never been a point in time in history that there weren't homeless people. Now, I mean, sure, there was probably times in which that there was less homeless people out there, and that there may have been more resources for some of the homeless people out there so that there would be less homeless people out on the streets. But ultimately, what it comes down to homeless is the availability for somebody to be able to provide for themselves. And when that becomes so discouraging that you can no longer provide for yourself, you end up on the streets, and then you start getting very depressed because hope is gone. It fades away every day. And since dealing with the problem of no longer having hope is very difficult, it is much easier to just cope with the problem with drugs and alcohol, right? Because you see, you tried real hard and you can't make it, and now you just feel that there's nothing you can really do and the world hates you. So every day you just drink your life away. It's not the alcohol that puts people on the streets. It's another problem that got people to start drinking, and that drinking eventually lands them on the streets. Or they have a problem that they didn't deal with that has them on the streets, and they're coping with it with alcohol or drugs or whatever it is. I think about this because most people don't realize that they have childhood trauma issues. And when you don't deal with those, they really start to manifest themselves in a pretty dramatic way the older you get, especially when it comes to dealing with anger or attachments, expectations out there. We all have different degrees of issues that we deal with throughout our lives. Many of us figure it out, many of us don't. And becoming aware is probably the key to answering a lot of issues out there. Once you become aware of the issues that you have or that you see, they don't become issues anymore. They become something that is I'm not sure quite how to explain it, but it becomes something that you're aware of, and therefore it's not something that's hidden from you. It's something that is in your face that you need to deal with. And that's really where, I think a lot of people end up becoming very frustrated with their lives, become frustrated with the people that they have connections with. They don't express themselves in the true fashion in which that they really feel. They're not being authentic. Right? They're attempting to be a pleasing nature in order to fit into society, left over from being a child. As children, we grow up and the only thing we really want to do is just fit in with our friends and our family and everything else. And as we grow up, a lot of us get into these people-pleasing behaviors, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. And when we're doing that, we're not acting in an authentic behavior. And what ends up going from there is that we don't have good connections and partnerships with people because we are not expressing our boundaries properly, since we are expressing more of a people-pleasing behavior. We say, yes, we agree to the things that we typically wouldn't agree to, and we let compromise become the norm on everything, and we just let our feelings and what our wants and the things we like, we just compromise on all that stuff until eventually, you're not even being the human that you truly want to be. Right? And this is really where I think a lot of people end up suffering the most. They have issues with their relationships, issues with their jobs, issues with, fitting into society, and they end up becoming outcasts. You know, this is the major problem. Like, I talk to these homeless people, right? People give me like a hard time, like I'm some kind of heartless person. You know, if you knew me personally, I don't know if you would say that, right? But I've gone down and I've talked to a lot of these homeless people, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult to have a conversation, you know. One person in particularly, every time I go and talk with her, she yells at everybody. She doesn't yell at me. She's nice to me, but she yells at everybody. Everybody who passes by, anybody who talks to her, looks at her, she yells at them. Everybody. And I think about this, and I think you are in such pain, such misery, such defense, so scared, in fear, constantly, that a communication with another person is literally an aggressive, yelling, defensive, reaction. Every single communication. I don't know how it is that she is going to survive in a work environment. That doesn't happen. I mean, I think about the insane amount of therapy that it would take in order to get this girl's head straight, to get her to fit into society. Right? It's not something that's just going to be easy. Like, you can get rid of the drugs and all the other stuff. The mental damage, right? The emotional damage, the mental illness, the sickness, right? That is going to be so difficult to try and fix. And when you think about the magnitude of it compounding every time these people are together and they interact with each other, and this is the form of communications that they have with each other, and pretty soon this is the entire world to them. This is how the world communicates. And a lot of us don't realize that. Like, a lot of us who are, like for me in a sales position, I have to communicate with people. I have to be friendly, and I have to talk fast, and I have to do, the things to get the job done, and I have to be friendly and, put on a show almost, but it's not really a show for me because I really enjoy doing it. And, to me, it's like, it's an easy thing, right? But to come from that sort of position off the streets to do that, to just say, okay, now I'm just going to be a friendly person and be very inviting and engaging and understanding of the situation and how to navigate through it, that kind of behavior isn't going to happen from right? This is why when you blame it on politicians, you're like, how are you gonna be okay? Like, okay, so a politician's to blame for the condition of this this mentally ill person now, right? Who has been frustrated out of all the jobs. It's very difficult, coping with it with drugs and alcohol so much easier. And this is something that you blame on politicians. Like, a politician can fix that. Yeah. Adopt a homie. All right. This is how it goes down. Like, there's no way of fixing this. The only way you can actually do it is to, as an individual person, to go and help another individual person. And there's no help here. Like, I mean, I go and I'm thinking, what could I do? What is it could I do for you right now to help you out? They have no answers for themselves. I can't put them in a house. I can't, buy them a car. I can't do those sort of things. But there's all kinds of things that I can do. They don't even know themselves. They have no answer for me. Right? You need shoes? You need something to eat? What do you need? Because I don't know what it is that I can do to help you. Uneducated Economist. You let me know.